I'm trying to make it consistent.
Hey guys, it's Gianni DeMaia.
That wasn't far off, actually. All right, you ready to actually hear it, though?
Yes.
Okay. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bad Movies Podcast. I'm your host, Gianni DeMaia. With me today is a very special guest. This is my good friend, Jordan Lemon.
Hello.
Are you going by Lemon without the D or with the D?
Without the D, because it's always been silent, so I didn't want to confuse people. And people think I'm Jack Lemon's, like, long-lost son or something, so that's pretty funny.
All right, that's cool. So today, we have a very special movie to talk about.
We do.
We're going to be talking about The Bye-Bye Man.
Don't think it, don't say it.
So The Bye-Bye Man is directed by Stacy Title, written by Jonathan Penner, based on the book by Robert Damon Schneck. Did I get all that right?
Yeah, I mean, the book is The President's Vampire.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Really?
but the story that it's from is called The Bridge to Body Island.
Wait, okay, hold on. Time out. Quick pause.
Okay.
Quick pause, because I
Paused.
want you to talk about all of these things, and I'm very confused as to why what you just said are two totally different things. President's Island and whatever the fuck the other one was.
President's Island. You're just a fucking... Okay, here's the deal.
Wait, but first and foremost, the reason I brought you on is because
I'm a goddamn genius. Also, we both have Corona lights in hand because this movie makes us feel a certain way. So I think we should cheers that.
yeah. Okay, if you heard that
And,
clink,
yeah.
that was it. No, so the reason I brought you on
Mhm.
is because you're one of my closest friends, but also you're a very thorough moviegoer, and by thorough I mean you go above and beyond to research and to watch as much bullshit as you possibly can. So I was like, you gotta be on for the fucking Bye-Bye
Oh yeah, I
Man.
watched so much bullshit.
And
for this.
I know you did it for this. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. So without spoiling the Bye-Bye Man, tell me a little bit about this book or books. I guess it's books.
No.
More
It's
than
one book with several stories in it.
Okay.
So this book basically is written by this like paranormal historian. Who just
Robert
Damon Schneck. Yeah. And he basically just like hears stories about paranormal things and then like decides that like he wants to research and look into the validity of each of the stories. And so one of the stories is about these three people in the 70s who are like hippy dippy as fuck, who get a Ouija board.
Hold on, wait. Say that one more time. 3 people in the 70s.
So it's 3 people, 70s, hippy dippy fuck, Ouija board. Is that what I said?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And so they started talking to this like spirit entity called the Spirit of the Board is what they said.
It's a catchier name than the Bye-Bye Man.
For sure. But then they asked the Spirit of the Board, who is very like sort of like a good spirit, I guess. Like what the most evil person like still alive was, and
Why would they be inclined to ask that
because
question?
they're fucking playing with a Ouija board, dude. Like when you started doing that, you're just asking you're like, who will murder me tomorrow? Can they please?
Hey, who's the worst thing?
Who's the worst person on this planet? What if the board was like, y'all motherfuckers, like a y'all 3?
What if it was like Gucci Mane?
Gucci Mane?
So it said the Bye-Bye Man?
So it said the Bye-Bye Man, and they were like, who the fuck is the Bye-Bye Man? And literally the spirit was like, nah, I'm not telling you. And they were
Spirit was
like,
don't say it. Don't
yeah,
think
for
it.
real. They were like, we're not going to talk about it. And so they decided to boycott the spirits. They were like, we're not going to talk to you until you tell us. And they finally were like, fine. Because they realized the spirits were having like a good conversation with these people, like it was good. And so they told them that basically it was this albino kid who was born in New Orleans in the 1920s and was very angry for some fucking reason and stabbed the like head mistress like with a pair of scissors and then
mistress.
and then jumped on a train. And
that's where the
yeah. So that's where it comes from. And so
you know what? Okay, I'm gonna have you stop right there. Then.
Okay.
Because I feel like this is gonna explain a lot of things in this movie, and I don't want it to. for the time being. You
Okay.
can you when we get into the actual movie, then I want to like really expand out on this shit.
Absolutely.
And you tell me why. Oh, that does make sense.
Yeah, and it leaves a good cliffhanger for the
But
audience.
this movie, let's talk a little bit about this movie for a second.
Okay.
So the Bye Bye Man
Yes.
has a 4.3 on IMDb.
Yes, it does.
It has a 37 Metascore,
Awesome.
a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes, and an F from Chris Stuckman. So this is a movie that I think it's safe to say, universally, people were like, "Yeah, no, fuck this movie."
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. So then so you've already told us a little bit about the story behind this shit,
Right.
which, for the record, none of which I knew. I just wanted to just watch the movie. You came in, you were like, I have all this research. I was like, oh fuck, I'm a horrible host. Okay.
Yeah, this is your host, folks. This is the person you've been listening to for 4 or 5 episodes so far. He has failed you yet again. I'm taking over. I'm the captain now.
Okay, so please, Jordan, if you will, I have my own plot description written, but I'd love to hear if you could tell the fine folks sitting at home what this movie is about.
Okay. So, I guess a little bit of spoiler alert. For the.
Oh, we're giving the spoiler alert now.
Well, I'm just saying because, like, I mean, like, am I just giving like the very basic before anything happens?
No,
Like-
you know what? Why don't we just say it now? Spoiler warning. This is for the people sitting at home. This is a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the Bye Bye Man, and for whatever godforsaken reason you really want to see the Bye Bye Man, pause this podcast. We'll still be here when you get back. Come back to us after you've seen it. Okay, spoiler warnings out there. Jordan, please tell us what the Bye Bye Man is about.
Okay, so the movie is about these 3 kids, in college, present day, who,
Present day in quotations.
yeah,
We'll
in
talk-
quotations, we'll talk about that later. Who who like are staying at this house for some random reason.
They bought it, right? I mean, or they're renting.
They're
it, or-
renting. I guess they're renting this like vacation house of somebody who lives in town.
Yeah.
And they throw a party and coins start falling out of the sky. and and they start like finding out about this like creepy thing that is following them, and the more that they think about this thing, aka the Bye Bye Man, he gets closer to them.
Okay.
We're not really sure what happens when he gets to them, but something might.
I'm sorry. It's just.
I mean, I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
I'm not
at all.
wrong.
This just, it makes me think about the movie in just such a fun way. So.
We should have gotten like a bottle of
So,
rum
I
or
mean,
something. Like
yeah,
something
right.
more, something heavier than this Corona
Yeah,
Light.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so I mean, yes, you're right. This movie is about 3 college students who find a nightstand, and the nightstand teaches them the name of some sort of demonic entity, and knowing the name, just having the knowledge of the name, suddenly makes you a victim of this entity. And like you said, we don't really know what the we'll talk about it, but like what it actually does, I have no fucking idea. But anyway, let's talk positives first. That's probably the best way. Let's go into it. Like, let's just fucking go in. The positives of the Bye Bye Man. I'll tell you what I got written down.
All right.
And this is a tough one. And I'll tell you why. Because for some reason, it's taken me this long to actually address this in one of my reviews. Now, I'm talking about bad movies. And I don't know why, but this is the first one I've talked about so far that falls into this. So this film is a brilliant, unintentional comedy when it wants to be. And the reason that's a fine line, because there's a lot of films that fall into this category. The category of like so bad it's good. and it so
Like The
what
Room, Ghost Rider, stuff like that.
yes, yeah, Samurai Cop,
Yes.
Sharknado. It's the filmmaking is so incoherent, it's so nonsensical that despite maybe being like maybe not being what the creators were going for, the movie is still thoroughly entertaining in a different way. Truth be told, I think a strong argument could be made that The Bye Bye Man fits into this category. So I just want to get it out of the way now. My stance on this: to keep the consistency, the integrity of these reviews, if there is any of that. I don't know if there is. But to keep that, I want to stick solely to being like as objectively critical as possible. So my enjoyment level of any movie, it might vary, and it'll definitely like weasel its way into the conversation because that's, the bias is what makes it fun. But as far as the actual points we make go in all of these reviews, I want to try to stick to only my opinions about a film from the place of what cinematically doesn't work or does work. So, with that being said, I just want to get it out of the way now. Bye Bye Man has my stamp of approval for so bad it's good territory. So, like, what that means is just, if you're one of those people that is like, man, I love turning on Batman and Robin at a party and getting drunk, this might be a movie for you. So that's just out of the way, totally separate from this conversation. Now, all that being said, this film did have me audibly laughing at least 3 separate occasions. And I think that while it's likely unintentional, that does count for something. And I do have to mention it. And it'll also be brought up as a negative. But if I want to be optimistic and think that this is like some sort of satire of horror, then that is an objective positive of this movie. So I just have to bring it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go as far to say maybe satire of horror, because that would have to be like a knowledge that they are making fun of it.
Yeah, I don't think they are, but I think like you could, like let's say they came out one day, they were like, yeah, I just made the Bye Bye Man just to fuck with everybody. Like I would be like, okay, I guess you're being, okay.
Okay.
You could be.
I see it. I mean, so the thing is, like, before I even watched this movie, I watched basically all of their collaborations. So they're a husband and wife duo.
Correct. Yeah. So the
director is the wife, and the husband is the writer, and they have the perfect names. That'll be my first positive. Stacy Title is her name, and his name is Jonathan Penner, and he's the writer. That is brilliant.
I didn't even think of that.
That is, you can't make that shit up.
That's good. That's good stuff. Wait, so tell me about their other work then.
Okay, so I would say that the positive is that I think that they've grown as artists.
They've grown, like the Bye Bye Man is the best of what they've done.
Oh my
so
gosh,
far?
yes.
Really?
Yes. I would say that, so I watched Let the Devil Wear Black, which is a 99
Wait, you're not
adaptation.
serious?
Oh, I'm serious.
This is the best of what they've done?
Yeah, this is the best work. I mean, especially directorially for her. I mean, the writing has always sort of suffered, but I think that...
And he's always the writer.
He's so they tag teamed for a reboot on WB's Lone Ranger.
Okay.
Which was like a 2-hour film special that never went anywhere, and it starred One Tree Hill's Chad Michael Murray.
Oh,
yes,
a good time.
Exactly, and they had some good penis jokes in there. And
just a quick disclaimer: I didn't have sex with Chad Michael Murray. That just sounded like I did.
Oh, yeah. Well, you actually made it sound even more like you had sex. My genuine
reaction, I was like, he's a good time, and I was like, that's not what I meant.
I would pay to see that, ladies and gentlemen.
I have seen One Tree Hill. I want to say half of the first season, and it's bad.
Yeah.
Not a fault of him necessarily, but it's bad.
But anyway, back on track.
Yeah.
We're back with Stacy Title and Jonathan Penner, and so their first movie, their first short film that they did together was an Oscar nominee for Best Live Action Short Film.
Okay.
with Jason Alexander and Edward Asner. And Jonathan Penner's also an actor, so he tends to act in a lot of the material that they do together.
So did you watch this short film?
No, I actually could not find it anywhere. It was the only collaboration of theirs that I could not find.
Okay.
But so that got really good reviews, and then they just went downhill from there. Really. And so they made a Hamlet adaptation called Let the Devil Wear Black that's set in 90s Hollywood with a young Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead, Jonathan Banks from Breaking Bad,
Nice.
Mary Louise Parker, Philip Baker Hall, like a huge cast.
Well, they work with fine people. I mean, Faye Dunaway's in Bye Bye Man.
That's true.
And Carrie Ann Moss is in Bye Bye Man. It's not
That's true.
it's not a fault of the actors they work with. I mean,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Let the Devil Wear Black is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
really?
I gave it a 1. It's actually rated higher
Oh my god.
than The Bye Bye Man, and I think that this is actually a flaw, and this is where I say the positive is with The Bye Bye Man, is that the ratings are incorrect. That it should be rated higher than a 4.3.
You think the Bye Bye Man is worth more than 4.3?
I do. I actually do think it's worth more than a 4.3.
Okay.
At best, I think it's a
Well, you don't have to say your rating. Just
no, I'm not giving a rating. I'm just
Okay.
saying it's like a loose copy / homage to films that came out like 2 years before this one did.
The Bye Bye Man is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so their other work was not very strong, and so this was definitely the most watchable of the things that I saw
Wow.
in
Okay.
their past 17 years. I actually I actually had a jump scare in the film too. I'll give that a positive.
You jumped one time.
Yeah, so it was from the there was like a sequence with the dog, and you see like the eyes through a doorway, and they're sort of looking, and there's always a coat hanging on the wall, and you expect something to happen, and the fact that it doesn't immediately, and then you see the dog eyes, and then basically it cuts back to the coat. The Bye Bye Man points at them and then disappears.
He jumps out of the coat and all that.
Yeah, and then the coat's on the ground, basically.
Aw.
That was the only moment where I actually was scared,
Okay.
and it was a very short period of time.
No, it's so funny because like you brought up the Hound, and like
Let's talk about it.
this is like the reverse Jersey Girl, because I remember when we did Jersey Girl, me and Tommy, we were trying to talk about the negatives, and then we kept jumping back into the positives. And I feel like right now I'm trying to talk about the positives, and I keep jumping into the negatives. But the Hound, that's probably the worst CGI I think
It's
I've
so
ever
it's
fucking
so
seen.
bad.
Oh my god, it's 2017. It looks like CGI that was done.
It was 2015, by the way.
It was 2015.
So it was 2017 when it was released.
Oh, but it was okay. Got it, that makes
Basically,
sense.
yeah. Basically, no one wanted to produce the film,
But that's
and
still-
so it sat laid in waiting for 2 years
doesn't even make it
until
better.
some idiot was like, "Yeah, this is a good idea." Probably drunk on Corona Lights and doing a podcast, and was like, "I got some money."
What, just like
It was
someone else I
basically
know.
Gianni DeMaia was the sole producer
Oh my
of
god.
the Bye Bye Man.
I can't even believe. It's funny because like so I was watching Chris Stuckman's review of it, which is hilarious, by the way. Go watch Chris Stuckman's review of the Bye Bye Man. He's there with John Flickinger. They kill it. They hit every nail on the head. But the review they said something that I actually wrote when I was watching it, and it was that the Hound looks like CGI from Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And it's so accurate because I literally wrote, like, this Hound looks like something out of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. The CGI is that bad. I can't even describe it to you. It just looks like meat that's sort of just compiled onto itself.
Yeah.
It's so
Well,
bizarre.
here's the thing, and here's actually, I'm going to bring it back to the story that is based on Robert Damon Schneck's Bridge to Body Island.
Yeah.
So the dog is actually kind of badass in the story.
Really?
So basically, from what these people explain, the dog is made out of human tongues and eyes.
Okay.
And
That makes sense
basically-
for the look.
Yeah, and so basically, the Bye Bye Man murders people, and then in order to keep this dog alive, has to cut out their eyes and their tongues, and then like sew them into this dog. and the dog is like a lackey, like a wingman, like
So
a
this
killing
movie's
wingman.
decided to have all of that, but then never explain it.
Yeah, it never explains any they've heard the story, they've read the story, and they just go so far off, and they don't really explain what's happening actually.
Gosh, okay, I have one more positive, and because we're getting too deep into the negatives
Yeah.
here, and I just want to rein it back in, because I gotta get the positives out of the way, as much as it fucking pains me. Jesus. Okay. The other positive that I wrote is that the first shot of the movie's not bad. What I mean is that like the cinematography in this movie is not, like you said, this is a watchable movie, and I think that that's largely in part to the cinematography. I think that it is a very bleak looking movie, for better or for worse.
The production design's also not bad either.
It's not bad. It creates a world. This is not void of substance necessarily. Like there are things you can appreciate here, and one of which being that first shot, that like one shot. Now I'm a fan of oneers. You know this about me.
Yes.
I love the one take. They follow this guy into a house as he shoots people up in 1969, I believe the year was.
Yeah, it's October 20th, 1969.
And you know, it relates back to the main story, I guess, in a way. Basically, this guy is the guy that wrote all the shit on the nightstand that's given to the main characters of the movie in present day. And he's I guess the reason that this is all happening, because he went insane. But basically what he's sort of figured out, as the movie reveals to you, is that this guy figured out that the only way you could stop the Bye Bye Man dead in his tracks is to kill anybody who knows the name of the Bye Bye Man. And if you told someone the name of the Bye Bye Man, then the Bye Bye Man's in you too, so you also must be eradicated, so that you can't spread it. And then he kills everybody, and then it's revealed later that he also kills himself. Now, the way they do this is the first shot, and it's very desaturated, and that bothers me. But the shot itself is executed fine, and it follows him into the house, and he shoots some people. Shoots this one guy, I forget the guy's name, I think it's Rick. They say it like 4 times, and I don't know where he shot him, because Rick has no blood coming out of anywhere,
That's
but
true.
whatever the fuck. But anyway, it's not executed poorly, and my point with bringing this up is that a lot of the movie feels like this, where it's like, it's not bad. It's not bad in the way it's being executed. It's just, I just wish it was different. Now, I think there are certain things that are executed very poorly, like certain ways performances are directed and things like that, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think that in terms of building a world, in terms of building a sort of bleak, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
Well, an atmosphere, like
yeah, it feels weighty. It feels like it's, oh man, this is a horror movie. You know what I'm saying? Like it for sure, it builds that world. And I guess that's a positive.
Okay, so are we moving on to negatives now?
Yeah, let's get
All right,
it.
let's do it.
Let's get it.
This is what we made this podcast for.
Okay, so first things first, fucking nothing is explained in this movie. Not one thing. I think, as movies go, it's totally acceptable to leave questions unanswered. We were talking about this on the way over. There are plenty of movies that have mysteries that don't actually tell you the answers. But what's unacceptable is having no trace of explanation anywhere in the film. So it's like good films will leave clues for the audience to uncover themselves and to form their own opinions, but bad films have mystery for the sake of mystery. And there's so many fucking things in this movie that are just like, what the fuck does this even mean? Now, I'm sure you know a lot about it. You know the backstory and all this shit.
Right.
But all I was thinking was, I was like, what the fuck? Why does it keep cutting back to a train? Like, what are the Bye Bye Man's abilities? Some people have fever. Some people are seeing hallucinations. It's fucking nonsensical, it seems. And it's like, why does the Bye Bye Man have a dog? Why does the dog move on wallpaper when no one is looking at it? What was that shot? Like, why is Faye Dunaway in this movie? There's so many fucking things. It's just like, what is this film? I have no idea what it's trying to tell me. There's so many. There's nothing makes sense. Why did this guy eradicate the Bye Bye Man's name from the whole world? He killed everybody who knew the name, but then he left the name written in a nightstand. It's bananas. Why did he do that?
I don't know. I mean, I think the thing is,
I'm lost.
I think honestly, now that we're looking at this, I think I like this movie better than you do, which is saying something because I don't like this movie at all. But I would say, yeah, if you're gonna go in and watch this movie, maybe read the short story first. And it's not even a short story. Like I'm saying it like it's fake. It's this actual guy who heard this story at a party, a Halloween party, and he sort of researched into the validity of the Bye Bye Man and realized that it was absolute crap, actually. So maybe they should have used something different to create a horror movie, because basically,
See, that would have been interesting though. If it was like some guy like sort of debunking this thing at a party or something like that, that could have been kind of cool.
but it wouldn't have been a good horror movie. I mean, ultimately,
No, not
the whole
really.
thing is that, like, basically this guy learned that, I mean, at least this is what I took away from it, that the people telling this story were full of shit. And that they came up with a story about this, yeah, I mean, like I said, an albino kid from Algiers in New Orleans. And what the writer realized is that they probably got Algiers. He looked up the town, he looked at all of the orphanages or like mental facilities for children, and found nothing like this story. And what he realized is that they probably got the idea for Algiers from watching a movie. If you've ever seen the movie Angel Heart,
Which I have not.
it's terrible, but you should also watch that.
I'll have you on the podcast. We'll
Yeah,
talk about
exactly. We'll talk about that one next time. It takes place in Algiers, New Orleans, and it's also very much a demonic film noir in a sense. And so he sort of uses that as a reference point for how they sort of created this story, which is interesting that a movie sort of begot a story which begot another movie. You know, in a sense. So obviously they sort of just took the idea. Jonathan Penner heard this on a podcast when Robert Damon Schneck was talking about his book and decided that he wanted to make it a movie. But I would say that if you want to watch this movie, definitely read the story first, because then you'll get even the small references.
So you're telling me that because there was things that I was just like, what the fuck does this even mean? And then by the end of the movie, never comes to fruition. There's things like the coins that they keep going back to. There's these coins.
Okay,
What
so
fuck
the
do they
coin-
mean?
the coins-
the train, the dog. Like I didn't understand any of this shit. You're saying that stuff can be explained in the short story,
So the
or in the story. Sorry.
some of it, I mean, a lot of the stuff is totally made up by Jonathan Penner.
What are the things that are made?
So the coins are not a thing.
That really frustrates me. Because
Yeah,
what
right.
the fuck
Yeah,
are those
exactly.
coins
Why are
then?
there coins? Not
Oh,
really
okay.
sure. And like, also, why does the Bye Bye Man leave coins for the little girl at the end? Like,
Why? Yeah,
she like to buy some something for herself.
Oh.
I don't know. But the things that are explained are the train, and there's sort of a whistly sound that is made throughout the film. That
The scratching.
Yeah, the scratching.
What the
So-
fuck was the scratching?
So
What was that?
basically, I think this was Jonathan Penner's interpretation from the story, is that the people who experienced this, quote unquote, said that they heard like a whistling noise. And I think Jonathan Penner's interpretation was that the dog was basically sort of leaving marks or a calling card for the Bye Bye Man
Okay.
to find them. Because that is what the whistling was in the story as well, was that you would hear the whistle and that was when the Bye Bye Man was moving towards you, was basically coming. Actually, there's a really cool part of the story that I really wish was in the film that they totally wasted, was so nothing bad ever happened to the people who say that they experienced this, really. They just had like weird occurrences and then nothing else happened. But there was one weird occurrence that John experienced, and John is a character. So the character names are pretty much the same. It was, in real life, it was Eli, John, and Catherine, and in the
instead
movie
of
it's
Elliot.
Elliot, John, and Sasha.
Got it. Yeah.
And So John woke up at like 3 a.m. and heard a knocking on the door, and it was Catherine or Sasha in the movie.
Right.
And they were like, "What? Time to go to breakfast. Wake up." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he starts getting up, and he realizes it's pitch black, and he doesn't really know what's going on. And so he starts hearing the knock coming harder, and he's like, "Come on, John, come on!" And then even harder, and so he freaks the fuck out, and doesn't open the door, and no one hears anything, and the landlord says that she locked the door in the front.
Oh, that gives me
for the
chills.
night. And so
That's
like
way
that would
better.
yeah, that would have been such a cool moment to have in the film that I think they wasted that potential.
I didn't give a shit about John, but that would have been cool.
Yeah,
man.
that just would have been such an interesting thing. And I think they ended up taking that romance, the strange like awkward romance
This
between
weird
them,
jealousy, and
which actually came from sort of real life, is that ultimately John and Catherine did end up dating for a period of time later on.
And in the real life, Eli and Catherine were together.
So Eli and Catherine were together during this experience, and then a couple years later,
Interesting.
they had broken up, and John and Catherine were together. And so I think that's where some of that came from.
Got it.
In the inspiration, but it just doesn't really work in the film. It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't really read.
No. Well, I mean, it reads like Elliot's losing his mind, I guess. But
also, you get that weird line where she's like, "I love you, John."
yeah,
when Eli's in bed, and he's like, "What do you say?" And then he
What?
never brings it up again. Like,
why would he not?
Yeah, exactly. They have other moments where like they're getting in a car together, like John and Sasha, and that's not even remotely as bad as saying "I love you." Best
Someone
friend
else.
of who I'm dating. Like,
there's a lot of things that like characters in this movie just don't address. Like there was, like when John's in the car with what the fuck's her name? The psychic Kim. When John's in the car with Kim and he sees maggots coming out of her eyes.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's okay, it happens to everybody. I guess talking about how he couldn't get it up in bed or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
And
Not
he's
about
like,
the
and he's
maggots in the eyes.
instead of being like, well, I'm having some weird hallucinations. I'm probably in a weird state. Please get out of the car. He's like, you're just gonna go. You're just gonna leave. It's just like, what? It's just like, why don't you just be, like, I would, if I'm at that point, I'd just at least have an excuse, something going on. Be like, listen, I'm just in a weird headspace. Like, just anything. I'm seeing maggots in your fucking eyes. I'm gonna be like, look, I need to go to a doctor. It's just craziness. You know what? I might as well talk about this since I'm on it. The characters. It's another one of my negatives. The lead, they write enough that I'm like, okay, I'm with him. His parents died. His brother really cares about him. He loves his niece, and he loves his brother, and he's a good guy, I guess. We don't really see any of it in the movie, but like what's told to us, and I guess is like, he's a good guy. I kind of feel for him. I don't want him to go through this stuff. Discount Dane DeHaan over here. I don't mean that as like a knock on the guy. Like, he just looks like Dane DeHaan.
He does, really.
Yeah, he's like, so, but like, I kind of care about him. Everybody else in this fucking movie is given as much life as the Bye Bye Man, which is nothing. The Bye Bye Man is completely left unexplained.
Also, can we kind of talk about the librarian? Because she's probably my favorite character.
The best part of the fucking movie. First of all, her first scene, she's all of a sudden a detective that's super invested in Elliot's story, even though I guess they've never met before. Maybe they have met before. But she's like, she knows all this shit. She knows way too much information. Then her next scene, she's killed people, and she's like on the phone, she's like, yeah, I'm seeing some weird stuff. And then she has...
Okay, I'm gonna take over real quick. He's gone. So my favorite part is that basically she gets hit by the car that Discount Dane DeHaan is driving.
Oh my god.
And she has a knife in hand. So she was trying to stab Dane DeHaan wannabe while he's driving. Like, how is that possible? Like, why is she in the middle? Like, you think... Because earlier, the way that she makes it sound is that she's gonna go and that she's going to kill everyone in the house. And Dane DeHaan has left the house. I'm just gonna call him.
How does she know where she is?
Exactly.
How does she know where he is?
But yeah, exactly. Like I would understand maybe that she found their address, but the fact that she's just standing in the middle of the road waiting for him to, I don't know what, drive to meet her, stop the car, and then get stabbed is just the worst planning
Wait,
I've ever
you're not
heard.
even you're not even addressing the best parts of that. Because yes, that's all of the craziness plot wise and like writing wise around that moment. The best though is her is her fucking face. She's just like open mouth, like half smiling, like Joker smile with this knife like pointed at the car. It's the most ridiculous. If you're at home and you haven't seen this movie, I implore you. You don't have to watch the movie. You just have to watch this moment. You have to watch
It's about like hour 16, like
the
something like that.
librarian's death scene in Bye Bye Man. I promise you, it'll be one of the funniest things that you watch all week. He hits her, and the car spirals, and it's all this shit. And he gets out of the car, and she's up against the tree. I don't know how. She's up against the tree, and then she like looks at him and like kind of half smiles, and then just like, and like her head just goes to the side. She dies. It's crazy.
It's
Even
like,
worse.
it's like she failed at doing like the Kiki challenge or something.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
she was trying to like Kiki, God, just gets hit with the car.
I don't, dude. Even worse is that I've seen that actress before, and I think that she was good in other things I've seen her in. But man,
I've
oh,
actually
man.
never seen her. I don't know. Who she
I've
is.
definitely seen her before. She looks so familiar to me. Maybe I should look her up. I should
Yep.
probably do my job. But anyway, it's like, oh my god, that is please watch that. That's one of the top 5 comedic deaths of all time. Right up there with that one guy that gets shot like 3 times in Samurai Cop. Like that is grade A.
Also, Troll 2.
Priceless.
I mean,
oh
they're
my
eating her.
god.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, this is fucking brilliant. This is some brilliant ass shit. Librarian is incredible. But right back to, you know, why does the librarian know all this information? Why is she in the movie? Why is Carrie Ann Moss in the movie? Why is Van Danaway in the movie? Like, why? Like, what are these people given, really? And it's just bullshit on bullshit on bullshit. So many characters that have no life to them. They're just there to either move along the plot or to get Elliot to say some crazy shit or to just promote that Elliot's going crazy. I mean, Carrie Ann Moss has another moment that made me laugh out loud, and it was really just in the way it was directed, honestly, I think. Because the scene itself, or the moment itself, makes sense. But it's that moment where she, like, winks at John.
Yes.
She's, like, about to, I guess, accuse Elliot of being a murderer. And she turns to John and she just like winks. But it's like the way she winks is like just so awkward. And then John looks at her and for whatever reason winks back.
Yeah, it's almost like there's like parts like oh, what do you call it? When someone is taken over by a spirit.
Possession?
Yeah, it's like part possession, part a haunting. Like it's not always clear what the supernatural entity is capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And also, to be honest, and I'll talk more sort of objectively, like if you're looking at the film sort of in the history of horror films, especially in the past 10 years, it does feel a little bit like a copy. Like they sort of because they're like it really felt like they took the plot of Oculus.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
And Mike Flanagan's Oculus, if you haven't seen it. It's an interesting film, not my favorite.
Flanagan's great.
Yeah,
Oculus, I think, is probably I was going to say it's my least favorite of his, but I don't think
well,
that's
I
true.
mean, I still haven't seen Before I Wake or anything like that, but
That's a good one.
but the
Hush is great.
the supernatural entity has a very similar quality in Oculus as it does in the Bye Bye Man.
Well, I found it very similar to, in ways, pretty much in the scares. Like you described that one in the room with the coat, reminded me a lot of the Babadook.
I can see that. I was actually going to say also the cinematography taken from The Conjuring in some ways. I think that the way that
the shot in the room.
Yeah,
and all that
yeah. I
kind
think
of stuff.
a lot of the camera movement was very similar to The Conjuring.
It feels very derivative of like the last 10 years of horror.
Right. And
For sure.
that's honestly how I feel about this duo, Title and Penner. I feel that they often, the projects that they choose to do and that fail, are taken from something else that they feel is important to them, and then sort of muddle it into a modern day, and not even modern day. There's also very much a late 90s sensibility to them. If you look at the party scene in Bye Bye Man at the very beginning, the music that they're listening to is very 90s, early 2000s. The same for the soundtrack of the Lone Ranger pilot that they did, as well as Let the Devil Wear Black. They're very influenced by that late 90s, particularly like a musical sense. But they tend to take from pre-existing things and sort of muddle them into their own sort of modern day take, and it doesn't work as well.
Well, this almost feels like maybe it takes place in the late 90s or something, because there's like a moment where like the character we talked about, the librarian, Elliot goes to the library to Google he uses search, that's like the website,
Right.
instead of Google.
It's the
But he Googles the Bye Bye Man, and then he Googles like, don't say it, don't think it, and then he like finds a hit and blah blah blah, whatever. But it's like he goes to the library to do these things, and then he has a phone.
right.
Checks the time on his phone. But it's like,
But he
why
could've
doesn't
done
he
that,
use the
yeah.
fucking phone? I don't get it. Does it take place in the 90s? Maybe.
Well, and you know what?
kind of.
Honestly, it might have actually helped them.
I think it should have.
Yeah, because and also the story originally takes place in the 90s too.
Then
The-
why the fuck
I know,
are we wasting our...
Exactly.
Why am I watching this 2015 bullshit, not real bullshit?
I think because in some ways they're jumping on trends, and
God
they're trying to
damn
ride a certain wave, and like, yeah, they do have their own artistic sensibilities, but they're ultimately looking for a paycheck. And also, maybe that's another positive, is that this movie was incredibly successful at the box office. They made over 3 times their budget.
Better than you could say of Justice League.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and so I
something to
mean,
be said of that.
they did something right. And I mean, at the very least, they made the money that they wanted to.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's like I was saying before, this gets the stamp of approval for so bad it's good. You know what I mean? And like, there is something to be said of that. There's a following for that. I mean, there's also a following of like teenagers that want to see PG-13 horror movies in January that are all shit. But like, there's a following for that. It's like, I really do think that like, if you're really into this shit, go see Bye Bye Man, man. Like, and I got more negatives to go.
Go
We're not
see
even...
Bye Bye Man.
Go see Bye Bye Man, man. But I got more negatives to go. We're not done. Like,
Yeah,
more
we're
shit.
not even close to done.
But like, dude, for real, like this movie.
You're gonna be sitting on the subway listening to this
crazy.
for 5 hours,
I'm
up to
so
the
serious.
Bronx and back to Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah, if you stuck with us this long,
Thank
seriously,
you.
thank you.
We'll
Let's
donate.
let's get through the rest.
Yeah,
of
let's
this.
do it.
The Bye Bye Man's motive makes no sense, is what I have written here. Here's why. So, I guess it invokes people to kill themselves or to kill each other, whatever you prefer. Why? Who cares? They don't explain that. But that's my assumption. I have no idea what the Bye Bye Man's really doing. But that's what I'm assuming that the Bye Bye Man's doing. He's trying to get you to kill yourself. He's trying to get you to kill other people, whatever it is. The reason it makes no sense is because, we keep saying, don't say it, don't think it, don't say it, don't think it. If you haven't seen the movie, that's the whole thing, is like, if you don't spread the Bye Bye Man's name, then he can't get you.
That's also part of the story as well, is that like thinking or saying his name, he has a slightly telepathic power to pick up on those things and will start traveling towards you if you're thinking or saying those things.
So my qualm with this is, if they all kill each other successfully, then the Bye Bye Man does not exist. So he's essentially just trying to make you die, and in turn, dying himself. So what the fuck is the point of him even existing in the first place?
I mean,
if his whole goal is to just eventually, like, oh, I'm gonna get like 6 or 8 people, and then they're all gonna kill each other, and then no one's gonna spread my name, and then I'm gonna be out of existence forever. Goodbye.
I agree. I think even in the story itself, the idea behind him doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's probably why it was debunked in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the reason that he's even alive, and this just makes no sense, is to keep his dog alive. He's basically it's like it's the Bye-Bye Man's best friend. Like literally, he's in the story. He's alive only to take out people's eyes and tongues so that he can keep his dog like moving and shaking. Like
Jesus Christ!
that's-
Like, what's the rules on the dog then? Like, when does the dog go if it doesn't have any human tongues or human eyes to live on?
Right. I mean, it just I mean, I think there's a lot of holes in this story, and I think they just jumped into something that sounded really interesting from the get-go. The idea of like this person who's slowly moving towards you. It's in some ways it's like a shitty It Follows. I mean, like the feeling of like it's tracking you.
Another fucking movie that it's super derivative of. Yes,
Right.
totally, absolutely. I mean, and the characters in It Follows. It's like, well, and it's part of the point. It's part of the point of It Follows, is that it doesn't really exist in any current time period. It's like it's the 80s, it's the future, it's all of them
Right.
at once, and it's like, sort of promoting that it's a dream.
Yeah.
And I guess this is
And the fact that they had really
Same.
never done, I mean, Stacy Tidal had done a movie called Hoods of Horror, which was like basically horror in the hood. I think it actually takes place in Compton, but like they really hadn't done horror before, and so it does feel a little bit like they jumped at the chance of something that they felt would be big, as opposed to something that they maybe were like ultimately interested in.
oh god.
And you know, obviously maybe I'm wrong. These are just my own opinions, but
Yeah.
it just does feel a little bit like they felt like they could make a buck, and they did. I mean, they really did.
And good for them, honestly. And I'm encouraged by the fact that you said that this is better than their other work. I mean, that does mean that they are working towards something better. And Bye-Bye Man is not unwatchable. It's just painfully frustrating.
It is.
It you know what I'm saying? Like, there are very few movies that I would categorize as unwatchable, and this is not one of them.
Yeah, and when they're first up, and like what I think also what's crazy, and you know, this is just careers don't always go the way you want, but it's like their first project ever was an Oscar-nominated short film. Like that's unbelievable, and to sort of have to live up to that
Yeah,
always,
hit your
you
high
know,
right
yeah,
out the gate.
it feels strange. Maybe it's also a motivator for them too. I mean,
But it's also proof that they're not void of talent. Like, there's something there, clearly. So hopefully they find it again. Let's just get through the rest of these negatives. This is
Yeah, let's do it.
this is making me like depressed. It's like, I already talked a little bit about this with the librarians. The librarian kills three people, 2 people, whatever the fuck it is. Who cares? And then she goes and gets killed immediately. And it's like, this is part of a larger problem in this film, which is plot lines being left unfulfilled. There's so many plot lines that are just thrown out there, and it's like, oh, this could be something, and then no, it's not. Like Elliot murdering that girl, or like potentially murdering that girl, is like, oh, he's gonna get accused of murder too on top of all this shit. Oh no, we debunked it because of logic immediately in the next scene. It's like,
and
okay.
it's not logic. It's like it feels contrived, because it's like no police officer would ever listen to this sort of like the ethos of this, you know? Like the whole point is that like he basically like gets out of being like imprisoned or even questioned by Carrie-Anne Moss, because he's like, oh, if I told you, like, what would you do if you saw a school filled with dead children, and then your children at home were like, oh, how was your day? Would you tell them the truth?
And she's
Or-
not like, that's fucking crazy that you would bring that up to me. I'm gonna keep you in holding for
Exactly,
at least a
because
little bit
she
longer. Like,
has authority here, and I think the idea that like the emotional part of this would like get her to like let him go. And it's also questioned at the end of the movie. One of the cops like sees her and is like, so you had him in custody for possible murder, and now he's murdered 3 other people and set the house on fire, and you let him go? And she's like, I talked to him.
And she's
he was a good
it's
person.
not one of those things.
It's like, what the Yo, she would have been
ever.
fired. There is no
Absolutely.
possibility for return.
Absolutely. The fact that Carrie Ann Moss is not being checked. You know what? She's the villain of the movie, as far as I'm concerned. Without her being bad at her job, maybe none of this would have gotten as far as it did. I mean, fucking hell, man. We already talked about the coins, too.
The coins.
The coin, like, what? Where was. Where? What?
Where?
Why?
Where?
Where'd they go?
Yeah.
What's the point?
There was also like the shed, the little, and that was in that's been a recurring thing since Paranormal Activity. The shed in the upper basement, like the one door that the little girl opens, and it's never really addressed again. Like in Paranormal Activity and films like The Conjuring and stuff, like people go into the wall and there's stuff to be found, but like it's just like they sort of had an amalgamation of what they thought a horror film should be, and they plugged these little pieces in, and then they didn't finish it. They just
And it was
sort
like they
of-
were proud of themselves too. They were like, oh, it's gonna take you off the track. It's gonna surprise you that it doesn't go anywhere. And it's like, no, now I'm just frustrated.
Yeah, because there was no reason in the first place. It's not about tricking you with no thought behind it. They were just sort of like, let's just trick them for the sake of tricking them.
It's mystery for the sake of mystery, and it's stupid. And I'll go there. I didn't want to go here, Jordan, but I'm gonna go
Shit,
here.
Here he comes.
The performances are not good.
No, they're
Okay?
not good.
And I hate this. I don't want to, because acting especially, okay, in movies, it's a slippery slope. Because you and I both know, we've both been in the acting field, that in movies, it slips into directing a little because that's really the person that could sway an actor to be good or bad. I hate harping on actors as like bad acting because it's like, okay, I know so much now. I know
It's a collaboration.
how intrinsic it is into that collaboration. And there's a lot of jobs on a movie that all are intertwined with each other. You know what I mean? But the acting in this movie is not good.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I mean, jumping off of that really quick, so my name is Jordan Lemon, and I'm currently unrepresented. So if you want to go to my website at jordanlemon.com.
I was gonna leave room for you to plug in the end. I got.
Oh, no. I make my own room for plugging.
Yeah.
We're talking about bad actors, and I just thought I'd slip my own name in there. So come at me, casting directors.
Yeah, but for
Anyway.
the love of God,
There you go.
though. I mean, man, oh man. I look, the acting in this movie, it could very well be direction. Okay, discount Dane DeHaan might be going full on Nick Cage crazy due to direction. I have no idea why, but it could be because of direction. It could also be because his just own crazy choices. And if that's the case, then it's like the acting needs to be addressed here as a negative because man, it detracts from this movie.
I also think it's probably poorly cast. I mean, at least from reading the story, these people were very into the occult, like in real life, and none of these characters really feel like that. Like they try to sort of make Sasha seem like she's sort of into that kind of thing.
But she just feels like she's on like some sort of
Yeah.
opium or
You know what?
something.
It's sort of like it just comes off as slightly hippy dippy, but like I kind of want to see like the people that we know in real life who are a lot more fringe. Like these people felt very Hollywood. Like I mean, even especially John was very like
yeah.
you know like
he was cast for his abs.
exactly,
unfortunately.
and
And I hope that's not the case. But
I think that, and obviously, I mean that's what helped their sort of sexual storyline,
yeah.
the sexual tension. But I would say that plot line was stupid to begin with.
Yeah.
So I would want to see like real people that we would believe would be the kind of people who would buy a Ouija board and that kind of stuff. And also, I think the Ouija board from the original story would have helped. Also,
It would've been better for that
having the
seance
spirit of the
stuff.
board kind of thing, and like
Yeah.
these people like getting in contact with something else.
Because it's cliche, but like so is a fucking seance at this point. It's like just if you're gonna go cliche, go the full route.
And also, it's not cliche because most of the time, the Ouija board immediately contacts something that's like so evil and comes through. But in this story, they contact this sort of like
with what you're saying, yeah, where
right,
they contact
this
the good spirit first. And
yeah,
then,
this good spirit who like won't tell them about anything, and
That
then all of a
could've
sudden,
helped.
the moment that it tells them about it, it says the name, this spirit that they read on the board,
Better than
and
a
then all of a
nightstand.
sudden they're being stalked. It makes more sense
Yeah.
than like reading it on a carved drawer in a desk.
From a guy that was trying to get rid of the name. in the
Right,
first place.
exactly. And so I feel like if they had also maybe stuck to the original story a little more, it would have been a lot more clear.
And speaking of that guy, for the record, let's just go on record and say this.
Which guy?
The guy who wrote on the nightstand. I mean, really, I'm just talking about the nightstand. Honestly, is that the nightstand is used as a fake out for a potential sequel, and then right after they fake you out on a potential sequel, they give you another scene that gives you the real thing of a potential sequel.
That's true.
This movie's so jerking itself off at the end of this thing. It's like, God damn it, come on, really?
Yeah.
Really? John's still alive and he's whispering the bye-bye man. The bye-bye man.
Yeah,
Carrie Ann Moss
also
is like-
the sequence with Discount Dane DeHaan where he's like, bye-bye, bye-bye.
And he's
Bye-bye.
like, he's like holding his mouth. He's like trying to.
It's just so dumb.
Oh man, it's unfortunate. Ah.
But also, I mean, like, that, yeah, especially the last sequence, and this is super spoilery, so if you don't want to listen to this, like, skip the next 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, like they.
But, I mean, I don't know
They
who's
listen
listening.
this far
I mean,
in.
I'm probably I'm probably the only listener to this podcast. But, like, the sequence that is straight out of Oculus is the ending sequence, where basically there's a brawl between John and Sasha because they're seeing two different things. So Sasha sees John as Elliot,
Oh yeah.
her boyfriend, and so she's trying to move forward toward him. And John is seeing Sasha as Kim, like a bloodied Kim,
Yeah.
who's the one who conjured this thing in the first place, basically. And
So
so
he's
he's
moving
running
away
away as she's moving towards, and then they get into this brawl, and John grabs scissors to try to stab Kim.
But here's what's silly. Why wouldn't the Bye Bye Man be something that John is attracted to so that they could fight or something? You know what I'm saying? Like, why did it have to be something that John would repel against? Like,
I don't
Could have
know.
gone so far out. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it worked in the Bye Bye Man's favor, I guess, because they ended up having a brawl with fucking scissors. But like, it could.
Right.
It
But then also, what doesn't make sense is that then Elliot comes in, takes John off of, Sasha with the scissors,
right.
and then he has a gun already, and he shoots.
Which, how did he get the gun? By the way, did I miss that?
No. So he gets the gun from Faye Dunaway.
Right, but does she have a gun? I
Yes,
can't
she
remember.
she pulls the gun in the chair,
Okay,
basically like
got
when
it.
they're talking to like
it.
protect herself.
That's all I needed.
And then so then what happens is so John has the scissors above and is about to stab Elliot, and Elliot shoots John.
Yeah.
But then John falls, and then we realize it's Sasha, which means that the whole time it's so confusing because I don't know who was looking like Kim, who was looking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
Because if-
poorly executed.
Because if Sasha had the scissors the whole time, then it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Because we're introduced to John grabbing the scissors before Elliot even sees them. So it's not from
She was
Elliot's
just
perspective.
pissed that Elliot was running away from her. She's like, "Fuck
Yeah,
you,
exactly.
grab it."
It just doesn't. None of it makes any sense. But that ending sequence where he shoots John and realizes it's the girl.
Yeah.
It's the same.
From Oculus.
It's the same sequence as Oculus when the brother
Slight
pulls.
spoilers for Oculus here. but
Yeah, sorry, this is a spoiler alert for Oculus. But the brother at the very end, like they're trying to destroy this mirror that has the supernatural entity in it.
Right.
And so they've built this axe that swings down from the ceiling
Mhm.
just in case it comes back. And the brother pulls it, and he thinks that it's gonna swing into the mirror, but the mirror has sort of created a false image, and the sister is standing in front of the mirror, and the axe comes into the back of her head and hits her instead. And so it's that the whole ending is just the exact same with the
Yeah.
cops coming up and being pulled away, and yeah, So it is just very much a copy, and also we've realized it just doesn't make sense. I mean, just the like, I get it; it's a good twist to have him kill his own girlfriend instead of his best friend, but like,
You think
it
about it
doesn't.
for 2 seconds,
Yeah,
and the whole thing falls apart. and
It
you're
falls
like,
apart. Yeah, structurally.
Okay, sure.
All right. So are we?
Well, first, I mean, just to throw it out there, because I said I would bring it up before, but like accidental humor. It's, we already talked about The Librarian. We don't need to beat it to death. There's a lot of moments like that. This movie made me laugh a bunch. This was a funny movie. Okay, real quick. Speed round. Jordan Lemon, top 3 favorite quotes or moments from this movie. Go.
Okay. Oh shit! Don't say it. Don't think it. I love you, John, and I've been having very interesting thoughts because of this.
The librarian on the phone.
Why? Like,
Good choices.
I've been having very interesting thoughts. That's not gonna bring you to someone's house. That's what she wants, by the way.
I love that he keeps being like, "Oh, okay, just like, stay where you are," or whatever the fuck he's saying, and she's like, "Okay, I'll be over later." Everything with the librarian.
It's just great.
A+ shit. All right, fucking my verdict.
All right,
My verdict, Jordan.
give it.
At its best,
Mm-hmm.
this is a relatively enjoyable, accidental comedy with absolutely no explanation for any of its suspense. And at its worst, this is a completely nonsensical attempt at a horror film that misfires in trying to instill any sense of fear in the audience. So I hesitate to give it a 4. I'm trying so like I wish I could come into this podcast every single time and tell the audience like this movie is not as bad as you heard. I wish that would be the case every time. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. This is a case where it isn't. I think this movie's horrible. This movie's really bad. I hope that these filmmakers find their roots back to that short film that was nominated for an Oscar. I'm excited to see it, honestly. This is a bad film. This is a bad movie.
Do you want me to use the same format?
Sure.
Okay. So, at best, this is their best feature film to date. The improvement in their work overall has been really solid.
Mm-hmm.
And just to prove that, if you ever want to watch this movie, watch Let the Devil Wear Black first, and then watch this movie, and it'll change your mind. At worst, it's a copy of every other horror movie that's come out in the past 8 years with no rhyme or reason behind the choices that they made. They did it because someone else did it, and it looked cool, as opposed to really thinking about why they're doing it. But I think I'm gonna give it a 5, and the only reason I'm doing that, it's still a failure. It's still fail.
I mean,
but I'm gonna give it a 5 because Let the Devil Wear Black is a 1. And so watching that versus this is just like so much better.
Man.
So you know what? I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna let him sit there and
I might bring you back for Let the Devil Wear Black. I mean, we already made plans to come back for a couple more episodes. So
yes,
but I might just add that to the list.
Excellent.
Jordan Lemon, thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Do you want to take this time to plug anything?
I pretty much made a fool of myself already. But if you want me to make a fool of myself again, yeah, my name is Jordan Lemon, JordanLemmon, and you can look that name up with a .com behind it, and that's my website. And so if you're interested in acting and people who are 5'4", come hit me up. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Bad Movies Podcast. If you like this, you could follow us on Twitter at Bad Movies Cast. Feel free to tweet at me and give me any bad movie suggestions you'd like to see on the show. You can also follow up on Sound Pollination at soundpollination.com to keep up with us and what we're doing. We're excited to be launching a bunch of cool shit in the coming weeks and months. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Quick segue. Hey, do you like movies? Because boy, oh boy, have I got the fucking thing for you. We at Sound Pollination are affiliated with Atom Tickets. AtomTickets.com. Super fucking easy to navigate. I have MoviePass and I still use Atom Tickets. So if you go through our link, probably in the description below, probably on our website, probably on both, honestly, I wouldn't know at the time of recording this. I'm just going to say that they're on both of them. Okay, so anyway, if you want to buy a ticket to a movie, go to our website or go to the link below. Click on it. Atom Tickets. That's the way to go. Super easy to navigate. Like I said, I have MoviePass. I still use Atom Tickets because sometimes there's a movie that's coming out and it's going to be sold out and I got to get the ticket ahead of time and boom, I have fucking Atom Tickets. It's so easy. I can do it right from my phone. I can do it from my computer. I can do it anywhere. Atom Tickets, the most navigatable website. Also, it goes through IMDb. What the fuck are you waiting for? Use AtomTickets.com.